Chris, how is your pee break?
My pee break.
They might flash you undetected.
Random baby.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me. Quite an intro.
Let's address the elephant in the room. That's not the elephant in the room. There's no elephant. Nobody cares.
I too am a thought criminal.
Good. Well, I like you already.
Does this look like a girl who's joking around?
No.
messing around?
But how much do you actually understand money, especially the new wave?
Beauty or intelligence? When you unleash both, it is men's kryptonite. Welcome to Talk to Me, Taylor. All right, everybody. She's coming in hot with the red hot hair. The red to my blonde today. Brains and beauty, Miss Jen Pinkerton. She is a psychotherapist. So we're all going to be psychoanalyzing all of you this whole time. So fear not. She is a speaker. She is host of Redhead Reveal. I'm hoping to get some reveals from the redhead today. And she owns Pinkerton Psychotherapy. So, Jen, I think we should just get right into it before the people are afraid for their lives that we're just going to be mind reading them and psychoanalyzing them for 20 minutes.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for having me here, Taylor, and I'm ready. Let's do it.
Let's go. Okay. First things first, you've been at this a minute and you obviously are so accomplished, have your own, practice. And everyone now, Jen, is trying to be like the self-help therapist guru, for better or worse. So what would you say is the biggest kind of like self-guru red flag? And or what is something that these like mainstream ones, what's something that they're missing?
Well, I think there's a lot of questions kind of within that, but I do believe that all of us possess the ability to have self-awareness and introspection, and it's important to do. And so people that are on the paths for doing that on their own, that's awesome. That's great. Two things to grow or interest and commitment. So if someone has the interest to do that and they're being more self-reflective, that's great. I do think there's a lot out there in the world, though, of a million different people saying they can help you heal everything that holds you back in life. And I love that there's a lot of choices. I love that there's a lot of that. But I do think there's a very big difference in actually understanding how we're wired, understanding that we will repeat what we don't heal versus just leveling up. Leveling up is great. We need to level up. Everybody needs to do that too. I love that. But there's a deeper understanding that can be done when you actually address the stories we tell ourselves and how so many of us are storytellers instead of truth tellers in our own lives.
So it's like falling victim to the flex culture of, like you said, leveling up and look, I have it, like, look, everything's perfect and right on track and soaring. And maybe it's just does not boil down to that simplistically.
Well, we all have stuff, shit, whatever you want to call it. We all have it. Nobody escapes that.
Indeed.
But it's what we're going to do with it, and whether we want to take a little bit of a time to understand it and to see and connect the dots of behaviors and patterns that hold us back. And I don't think you can do that in some of the just other ways out there. Those are great for other reasons, but maybe not for that one. And that one requires something a little bit different. And I believe that is the key to ultimately to our success, because as a connection expert, if we don't understand how we connect not only with others, but how we connect with ourselves and what is our story in our head, we're always going to be limited by that.
Now, is there because we are bombarded with messages all day long, and again, influencer culture and social media and all of it, right? So we're getting these messages all day long. Is there a kind of fad in this space right now that you tell people, like, don't fall for this, or maybe it's overrated, to get back to like real and connection and what you're about? Is there something that you're kind of seeing?
Well, I mean, I don't like to speak negatively about what's out there because truly, I'm overjoyed when anybody actually chooses to do any work on themselves, frankly.
It's fair.
So I'm not going to be a hater about something else. I would just say that the deeper work is what's going to make the deeper impact in your life. And that's really the best thing I can say about it.
That's
But I
fair.
applaud anybody who has the courage to say, I want to grow in whatever way you can grow. because one change does begat another change. And so maybe somebody starts out just doing some other things that are a little more surface level. That's great. But maybe you doing that gives you a comfort level to say, now I'm willing to go a little deeper.
Mm-hmm. Very diplomatic, very like true psychotherapy, like Switzerland. Like I hear
I
what you're
don't aim
saying,
to be
Taylor, but
Switzerland at all. I am direct and I'll tell you how I feel.
really?
But I will. But on that subject, I do really believe that sometimes it's an entry point for people.
That's
So
fair.
anything you're going to do, I think is an entry point.
That's fair.
Allow you to choose, you know what, that wasn't as bad as I thought it was, or I achieved that already. So now I'm willing to actually look a little further.
Yeah, and it's sort of, I'm picking up what you're putting down. Like it's a hot mess out there. So any help we can get, we will take it because when it comes to navigating, people are, on a heavy note and even on a lighter note, right? Like people are really, kind of struggling. And when it comes to connection and all of that. So I feel you. It's like any help, I will take it,
That's
that
right.
they're looking to get.
That's
Okay. So big picture, because again, you have been at this for so long. I kind of want to take a look at and I'm sure you get this a lot. And I know you work across the board. I mean, you work with couples, with kids, depression, anxiety. Like you are, that woman. But I do want to take a look at something that everybody feels and talks about behind closed doors, which is, the interpersonal men and women, because it hits it hits technology, politics,
right.
social, cultural, right? So big picture, obviously it doesn't take a rocket science to see, less sex, less marriage, less kids. I know this is so much to unpack in that, but like, what do you kind of boil that down to,
Well,
being
I
at
think
this
that
for so long?
unfortunately, and a lot of people might disagree with this at first, so follow me for a minute. But unfortunately, we live in an individualistic culture. Everything is oneness. Everything is me. I'm going to be successful. I'm going to go do this. I'm going to accomplish this. Everything is I,
Yep.
me. And we've done that as a society. We promoted that interdependence and this race for achievement. And while those things can be so beneficial in some ways, we're missing one aspect that is so fundamental. According to our neurobiology of who we are relational beings. Everyone is a relational being. We need to connect with other people. We need to learn how to regulate with other people. We need to co regulate with other people. We need to learn how to show up relationally. And that, of course, is the biggest romantically. But it also extends to, can we relationally show up in our profession? Can we relationally show up with our friends? Can we relationally show up with our children? Because if we are only individualistic and we're only worried about the me-ness of what we need, what I want, what I deserve, what my boundaries are, how can I feel better, everything about me, then we're not actually opening a door to things like vulnerability, to things like an interest to really authentically understand someone else. And when we can learn and hone those soft skills that help us relationally be better people, it will fundamentally change how you show up with everyone.
That is so true. And even when we look at generations before us, like the amount of kind of the stoicism and sacrifice, and it is literally a lost art. It's such a self-obsessed, selfish
Mhm.
me culture. And it's crazy because you're going right. I have a couple of notes here, but you're going right into where I was leading, which is it's sort of this chicken or the egg scenario when it comes to men and women, because let's be real, Jen, we've seen it now really unfold. I would even argue over the last decade or so, but where women are like, men are trash, da da da. Men are going, well, what do women bring to the table? You guys just want to, be influencers and do nothing and have us pay. It just goes round and round in this circle. And I know you're not going to throw anybody under the bus, but when it comes to that, again, to me, it just feels like this cyclical thing where there's no productivity. Like, how do you see what is the root of that and what's really happening in those inner dynamics there?
Well, it is that idea of we do have to understand what is the root causation of who we are and why we are and how we show up. And if we're
Exactly.
only focusing on all these surface level things, and if life is surface level, things that might give us a short-term benefit, but no true long-term impact in our life, then we're going to feel stuck. We're going to feel like something's missing. We're going to end up feeling like we're not getting what we want out of life. And that yet we will still turn and try to identify it in a way that is not productive. Because the truth of the matter is, only we, us, I, you, we are responsible for the trajectory of our lives. No one else. It's no one else's fault. It's no one else's issue. It's about us. How many times do we go deeper to figure out who we are and why we are the way we are, so that we can get back to being relational, not so individualistic, not so lost in this shuffle of the world you're talking about, and actually focus on what we can do to actually show up in the person we're born to be. We all forget that. We all lose that. We become these resilient people who are on this, on this societal fast track, and don't actually examine, who do I want to be? What was I born to be? Where did I get lost? How can I shift that? What is the story in my head? And how can I change it? Because everybody can, but nobody really thinks that they can, or they're not willing to do the work to do it, or we go for the quick fix, right? The quick fix, the quick thing to make things better, instead of saying, you know what, sometimes maybe it's worth a little bit of temporary discomfort for a permanent change in my life.
So why are we the way we are? And again, you're even seeing it like online. It could get really hostile again between men and women and them hating on each other, even in person. Like such a different time. Like can't even barely talk to each other face to face,
Right, but
right?
it's polarization. It's the
Yeah.
polarization. It's again back to the oneness. I am right. I know best. You don't. It's oneness, and it takes me back to what I'm
So
saying, and it's like the
true.
broken record with me. I know, but it is so powerful if you can really lean into it. When we start trying to be relational. So if you've got two people and they have very opposing views on whatever it is, why do we stand on ceremony for our view? Why aren't we able to be vulnerable enough to say, you know what, I'm scared to hear what you have to say because it ignites this feeling in me and I don't understand that, or that feels weak to me, or that feels powerless to me. So I don't want to examine that. Or I'm standing on ceremony about what I believe, but I'm not curious to understand what you feel.
Mhm.
And we've lost that art. That's relational art that we
Mhm.
have lost. Doesn't mean
Mhm.
people need to change their views or belief systems or core things, but we can be curious, because within curiosity comes connection. Even if people end up with still very opposing viewpoints, thoughts, life goals, etc. But it's the idea that curiosity is what is missing, because again, we're too individualistic.
Mhm. There's also that's so true. I hadn't thought of it that way because we often see that in a political lens, but it's also relational and like even with romantic, right? It's like if there's anything that like you disagree with the person or whatever, or even like men and women on a whole, like I said before, the generalizing of like, oh, all men are this, all women are that. It's like it gets down into the granular of how it's just an immediate like repellent and there's
Right,
no room
right.
to connect there. What do you think, Jen? Because let's be real, again, men and women, and again, technology, there's so many factors, the way we were raised, the selfishness, like there's so many things, but you're talking about too, the tribalism, but men and women kind of like being lost in the sauce again, culturally, like when it comes to even like their roles and showing up or
Mhm.
having fulfilling lives or treating one another with respect, all these things. I'm gonna let you pick your first, you choose your own adventure, but what do you like in Jen's opinion think it takes to restore like a high value man and a high value woman?
Well, the highest form of love is consideration. And a lot of people don't recognize that. When do we consider someone else above ourselves? When do we consider how someone feels and not just our own viewpoint? That's a really big one that a lot of people miss. And when you're talking about men and women, there's also some hard wiring things that go on in that difference, particularly for men and women. And we're talking about patriarchal views of how maybe a lot of men were raised generationally, how a lot of women were raised generationally, how we're adopting a different viewpoint in this generation. But is that viewpoint any better? Or is that just individualistic and we don't need anybody? There's so much of,
Right.
people love boundaries. I love boundaries. Boundaries are badass. I'll scream it from the rooftops. But when you take a boundary and say, nope, cutting you off because you pissed me off. Nope, done with you because of this. That's not what a boundary is about. A boundary is about understanding yourself, setting up things that protect your peace and what you will and won't tolerate in your life. It's not about what anybody else does. It's about what you're going to do. And people lose that. Or if someone is self-oriented, we suddenly want to say they're a narcissist. Well, are they a narcissist or are they just an asshole? You know? And if they're just an asshole, can you learn how to show up differently? You can. So there's so
That
many
is so
labels that are
true.
thrown around and so many things that are so individualistic about me. And yet we're missing that that is not how we are wired as humans. That is neurobiology. Like this is not something up for debate. It's truly, we are relational people. I mean, think about if you put someone in solitary confinement forever, that is a punishment for that reason, right? Because we need to connect with other
That's
people.
true. But now it's gone so haywire. I mean, Jen, I have to ask you, even if there's like a psychoanalysis to this, what is with, even for example, you talk about connection and like bridging the gap, like what is with the unwarranted, even like the unwarranted dick pics? Like what is this? And it's not even like in a derogatory way. I'm like, are they just looking for flattery? Is it to be seen? Like what is, I'm thinking like our grandparents could never, like they'd be rolling. I just, what,
Well,
like
I mean,
even
that's the
that.
problem that technology gives us, right? We have instant access. I will challenge that maybe many years ago, beforehand, you might have had somebody that really wanted to show off what he's got, but they might not have had the access to do it. And because of technology, we have access in a way we've never had. Also, I think a lot of people want to shortcut dating. We live in such an instant access, instant
Yeah.
gratification. Everything's right away. So we want to shortcut it. I'm going to show you yours. You show me mine. Do I like you? Do you like me? Are we going to have? Nope, we're out. We're out. Nobody wants to take the time to actually explore
So true,
what are
Jen.
my
Yeah.
values and what are yours? What do I want? And even if it's sexually, if you're not talking about sex, you're not going to have great sex. So what do I want sexually? What do you want sexually? Let's talk about it. And people miss that,
So
or what are my
true.
values? What are your values? What do I need to fulfill me? What do you need to fulfill you? We miss all that. I'm married, but I know from working with so many clients, it is not at all like that anymore. And I would hesitate if I was thrown into that. I would be like, wait, whoa, hold up, because it's not how we are designed to function. We're designed to actually meet
Wow.
someone and have a curiosity about who they are. We're designed to actually be vulnerable and share something, but we don't do that culturally because we're too afraid. Someone will see us, someone will judge us, someone will shame us. So when we start inviting curiosity and showing up as curious people, then you might not get so many dick pics because people don't have to have that instant wait. That's the way to shortcut it all, if that makes sense. And it can't be shortcut if it's going to last.
Indeed. Jen, that's such a great way of putting it. And it's so true. And again, it's not even in a like insulting or abrasive, but I'm like, is this, it could be just like, but I'm like, what
It might
if
be a
it's like, we
beautiful
just skipped
photo.
10 steps on immediately? Like, hi, again, I'm Taylor. Nice to be like, it's,
But I'm going to challenge it further. Also,
yes.
what if somebody sends you a picture of that because they feel like that's what their worth is tied up in?
Oh, Jen, I have ChatGPT did this to the death. I'm like, there has to be like something going on underneath. It
What
can't
if
just
they
be,
learned before that that's where they get the most value? What if they learned before that when they are
yeah,
in their sexual self or in the way they look, that's when they get the most in their fields? That's when they actually have validation from someone else. So that's their core idea of how they can be found attractive. Where
yeah.
what if that person could actually explore what else do they have to offer? And then they still might have
I'm
something amazing in
saying
that photo, but what if there's more?
it is a
Mimic
Freudian, uh,
themselves.
a
Like they're
hundred, a
yeah,
100%. Like I will try to let them down easy, be like, you're doing great. Like, looks
yeah.
great. But so
But they're
anyway,
limiting themselves. Like to me, you just reduced yourself to that's all you're worth. When in
I
fact, you might
know,
have been really more amazing, and I never get to see it because all you're doing is sending that. Do you
you
see what I mean?
know,
It's like it's limiting.
a
Instead of, and don't get me
hundred,
wrong, I'm all for sexting, sex pictures. Oh, hey, get after it. But have an exciting
hundred.
sex life that's full of novelty and curiosity and adventure and
Yeah.
expansion. I love all that. But let that be the icing on the cake, you're skipping the step here. If you're just tossing that out there, to me, that's somebody who is not willing to show that they have anything else to offer.
Oh my God. Pun intended with the icing on the cake. I love the redhead reveal indeed coming in hot, but it is so true, right? It kind of is like what ties to worth when it comes to masculinity and
Yes.
femininity. And that is something to be studied and explored. But before we kind of wrap things up here, Jen, and I love where you're going, because you kind of touched on this and I explore this often, but the idea of marrying traditional gender roles with our modern world.
Mhm.
Right. And that's where it's also kind of gone upside down and there's been confusion. So how do you, I mean, I know obviously it's individual and up to the person, but kind of on the whole, how do you see it? Is there merit in traditional gender roles? Is there also merit in the new wave and the modern? And, how what do you make of
Of
tying them
course,
together?
there's everybody has their different viewpoint, and yeah, there's this new movement of what did trad wives they'll call it,
Yes.
or some
Yes.
people lean into something different. I'm not here to say any of it's wrong. What I challenge is, do you know why you're making the choices you make? If you choose to make a choice to want your marriage to be this way, that might be great for you. But do you know why you both chose it? Are your choices and your reasoning behind that aligned? Versus did you do something out of fear?
Or you were
Did you do
told to
something
do.
or because it was generational? Did you ever explore the idea to figure out how you feel? And were you vulnerable enough to share with someone else? You know? Also, let's
Hmm.
lean on the other side. If we're going to maybe a really more modern type of, relationship, maybe it's an alternative lifestyle relationship, maybe it's polyamorous, maybe it's whatever.
Sure.
Did you explore why? Again, nothing wrong with that either. If that's what works for you, did you explore why you wanted it though? Have you gone deep enough with yourself and with the other person or persons to understand that? And I think what happens is people get stuck in an idea of either this is what I know and I'm going to do the same thing, or this is what I knew and the pendulum's going to swing here. I'm going to do the totally opposite thing. But do you know why? Are you just going with the flow? I challenge that most people in life would live a very different life on all fronts, professionally, personally, every part of your life, if you actually took the time to figure out your why. Why do you want that?
I think that is such a brilliant way to end this. And my viewers know too. I think that people, first of all, I've had my own journey with this of breaking out of the traditional white picket fence indoctrination I was always bought into because again, it's what we have to do and seeing what is my soul really? What do I crave? What do I want? When am I in my most power and fulfilled? It is not like driving Miss Daisy over here. I even break my own brain and blow my own mind of like, wait, but this doesn't look quote unquote normal or this or that, and it's so freeing and liberating. And I think to your point, people right now are just dying to get out of their cages and they don't know how. And so I
But
appreciate what
freedom
you're
is,
doing.
yeah, freedom is self-found. No one
Yeah.
else can set you free. That's about you exploring who you really are. That's about you not just adopting something because someone says so. And I challenge all the time that just because someone says it doesn't make it true. What is your
Oh,
truth?
yeah.
What do you choose to believe and why? Who do you want to be? How are you contributing to being who you want to be? How do you connect with others? How vulnerable are you? How authentic are you? These are questions that we ought to ask ourselves, but sometimes we end up only asking it of everyone else.
Oh, yeah. And I love that too because I challenge everybody as well. Like Jen and I, we're going to challenge you all right now, right? Because we are in a world that's so authentic. And who is really about it? I mean, I feel like it's rare for that true authentic I don't know. I feel like there's a fakeness, everyone trying to be like everyone else, or social media, the highlight reel, this, that, or the other thing. So what Jen is saying, guys, to like really pursue, not only pursue, but outwardly live that authenticity, like I don't give a fuck. Like it is the most freeing. I'm
Well,
still
it's
on my
it's
journey, but thus far I can
it's
attest to, yeah.
it's so interesting that sometimes people will come to work on themselves and they say I am so authentic and I'm so this and I really
Yeah.
understand who I am, but yet one person does something that they haven't resolved how they feel around it and they're immediately dysregulated, emotionally dysregulated, lashing out, cutting them off, doing all these things. I'm like, whoa, where is your pause? Where have you learned the art of pause and presence? You're not being authentic to who you're born to be if you don't know how to pause and be present, if you don't
Yes.
know how to actually process how you feel. If you're stuck in this loop in your life, I'm going to challenge you're not authentic at all. I don't care how much you say you are. We have to live that and embody
Oh,
that,
yeah.
you
And it's
know?
it's one thing to face the music with yourself. And then I even still to this day struggle even with like loved ones or family or people who you think may judge you. Like it is a whole thing, but I've learned every single time, like I said, there's just such a liberation in it. It's just sort of and I notice too, and I'm sure you see this even with clients, like when you do break out and live in that freedom, people sort of like it's so raw that they kind of follow suit. Even the most unlikely, they're like, okay, like I get it.
Sure.
All
And
right.
we attract a different type of person when we
Yeah.
become different. we back to that repeat what we don't heal, and understanding our patterns, that once we are actually step into being who we're supposed to be and who we're born to be, without all this crap, this noise, we will attract different people in our life, and we might lose friendships on our growth journey. We might lose a lot of,
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
okay. That's okay.
So true.
We might feel like I need to rest and go to bed for a month because I feel so overwhelmed with how much my life is changing. Your body may be saying, "You've never done that for me. Let's do that." I'm really big in mind and body connection, because it's
Yeah.
all connected, and that's also part of it. People are on the quest for their bodies, but you leave your mind behind, or you're in quest on your mind, but you leave your body behind. It works together. And there's just so much information and data out there that shows us a very clear path, but a lot of people choose not to be willing to explore it.
Well, it starts here. Thank you so much for your outlook, your approach. She is on fire, red hot, redhead reveal. Jen Pinkerton, thank you so much. I'll put the info where we can find you, and thank you for
It was awesome.
I mean, best psychoanalysis this side of the Mississippi by far. Thank you so much, Jen.
Thanks,
so
Taylor.
appreciate
It's been fun.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Chris, how was your pee break?
My pee break.
They might flash you undetected.
Random, baby.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me. Quite an intro.
Let's address the elephant in the room. That's not the elephant in the room. There's no elephant. Nobody cares.
I too am a thought criminal. Good. Well, I like you already.
Does this look like a girl who's joking around? messing around?
But how much do you actually understand money, especially the new wave?
Beauty or intelligence? When you unleash both.